Today we're going to take a look at how to graph linear inequalities. An inequality means that it has a greater than or less than symbol in it. So we have to decide whether our line is going to be solid or dotted, and we have to figure out if we're going to shade above the line or below the line. Let's start with our types of lines. The line will be solid if my symbol is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. The easy way to remember it is if there's a little line underneath my greater than or less than symbol, then my line has to be solid. My line will be dotted if the symbol is just a greater than or just a less than. For shading, if the line is in the format y equals mx plus b, that means that y is alone on the left-hand side of the equation. Then, if I have a greater than or equal to, I'm going to shade above the line. If I have a less than or equal to, I'm going to shade below the line. So let's take a look at graphing number 1. If I want to graph problem number 1, we have the equation y is greater than negative 2/3 x plus 4. So I always start with my y-intercept, which is the second number, the 4. So I'm going to travel up to 4 on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, and plot a point. To get to any other point on my line, I have to follow my slope of negative 2/3. So if I travel down 2 and forward 1, 2, 3, down 2, 1, 2, and forward 1, 2, 3, I've got a couple points on my line. I can then go ahead and draw my line in, which is just going to be a dotted line, since it's just a greater than symbol. Now I have to decide whether I want to shade above or below. Notice that the symbol is a greater than symbol. So if it's greater than, I'm going to shade above the line, which tells me that all these points in this shaded region will be answers to my inequality. Now let's take a look at question number 2. Question number 2 says y is less than or equal to 1/4 x, and I'm going to go ahead and add in the plus 0. So that means I'm going to start at the origin where my y-intercept is 0. I have a slope of positive 1/4, so I can go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, plot a point. I could also go down 1 and backwards 1, 2, 3, 4 to plot a second point. Now I'm going to draw a solid line. Since it's a less than or equal to symbol, there's a little line underneath, which means it's a solid line. To figure out my shading for this one, notice it's a less than, so that means I'm going to shade all of the points underneath the line. So I'm going to shade all of the region below the line. Now let's look at questions 3 and 4. Looking at question number 3, excuse me, we have y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 3. I'm going to start down at negative 3 on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, and I have a slope of 2, or 2 over 1. So I can go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and if it's y is greater than or equal to, it's a solid line. Since it's greater than, I want to shade above the line. So if I'm going to shade above the line, that would be the points on top. So all of the points in this region would be answers to my inequality. What happens if we have a vertical or horizontal line? We know that if we just have an x equals, those are vertical lines. If we just have a y with no x, that's a horizontal line. So if I have the line x is less than negative 3, I'm going to go to negative 3 on the y-axis, and it's going to be a vertical line. It's a dotted line since it's just a less than symbol. And if I take a look at a vertical line, there is no above or below. So in this case, I'm going to use the idea of when are my x's less than negative 3. Less than is to the left. So I would shade the left-hand side. If it was a greater than symbol, I would shade the right-hand side.